we'll do it live.
As always, we'll do it live. And
Fuck it.
honestly, I do apologize for sending you the 53-man Dolphin roster announcement video, but I realized that us raising the specter of the 72 Dolphins is just part of the team identity at this point. Patriots had a chance to undo that shit, but they didn't. So we're stuck with it until like we find out that, you know, somebody said something nice about gay people once, and the power behind Trump outlaws us or DeSantis outlaws discussing it. I don't know.
When was the last time the Dolphins truly mattered?
Okay, that was mean, and I accept that.
I'm saying this as a Pennsylvanian. Let's be clear. That there could be a string of year after year after year. Yeah, we were the champions. Yeah, division champions. Yeah, division champions. But did you win? That was like 15 years. So I fully accept anything that people want to throw at Philadelphia.
Well, considering that y'all were one of the teams that stuck the stake through the heart of the New England Patriots, I just have to shut up and accept it.
I just love knowing that Tom Brady probably cried.
Okay, now you're just like honestly, yes, Tom Brady crying. That is a thought that brings joy to my dark little heart.
There is something about opponents of like. There's something about like arrogant professional sports players having a hissy fit that is just like Sidney Crosby and Tom Brady are the two big ones for me. Like, and I just think about like, yeah, that's right, you cried.
Well, then again, you guys are the town that threw snowballs at Santa.
You're goddamn right, we did.
I mean, most people from Philly try to act like y'all didn't do it, that you've been unfairly impugned.
If you get up on that field, you better come prepared. All right?
I just realized
you know who we are. You know who we are.
I just realized something. I just realized at some point that if Donald Trump loses, at some point he might end up going to Philly during an Eagles game. And he's dumb enough to think people will like him.
He would never, because he's still salty about the NFL not letting him in. And he'll forever be salty. So that's like a resentfulness he's going to carry for the rest of his life.
But I do believe that at some point, I do think that somebody from Philly will try to throw a snowball at him. And I will enjoy it, especially if it hits target. I'd be like, that dude couldn't shoot you, but a snowball got you.
Yeah, his spokespeople are still doing they tried to kill him. Who's they? Elaborate on that. Tell me.
Please elaborate on the they. I mean, they tried to kill him. Well, you tried to make a stop at Arlington Cemetery into a campaign stop. So what are we doing here?
I do love the strain going on Twitter that is pretending that the assassination attempt never happened. It's just this sort of funny alternate, like deliberate alternate reality. It's not delusional. It's meant to be, it's meant to be sort of tweaking. I mean, but I do love it.
It happened, but it was a shit attempt. It was as I said, it was a Star Wars Imperial Marksmanship Academy ass attempt that that man should be ashamed of as he slinks off the mortal coil.
Through all the people who had like conspiracy theories about it and what was really behind it, it's like look, incompetence. That's all.
Yeah,
it's just broad incompetence.
There was a lot of incompetence going around. Like incompetence was going around like syphilis at the Villages. Which has been quite interesting from what I hear. from what I hear.
The fact that they had a, pro Kamala, like, not rally, but like sort of impromptu
Golf cart meet.
Yeah,
golf cart meet
in the
it's
villages.
It's a fact that I don't think because I live in South Florida, I don't think Florida is in play, but I do think that the Dems can force the GOP to spend money they don't fucking have in Florida.
That's really it. The Democrats need to go back to a 50 straight state strategy, and this is the reason. No one expects them to win West Virginia, but the point is that
make them spend the money.
Yes, especially when you have a man like Donald Trump who was bleeding the RNC dry. You force them to spread themselves as thin as possible. Look, we're seeing multiple people have posted pictures of like pickup trucks with like Kamala Harris flags on it, and I realize you're not going to broadly get the pickup truck.
You're not going to get those people.
Crowd,
while I trust
there's some capture there is pretty indicative.
I don't think there's a groundswell, but I trust their grilling opinions. Listen, I trust their opinions on grilling, and if they want to go on Temu and order a Kamala Harris flag, then more power to them.
My wife ordered a flamingo long ornament. We're gonna paint it blue, and we got like a fake pearl necklace to put on
cute.
it. Well, we can't have flags in our neighborhood, so
I'm tempted to get one of those outline lotus magnets for my car, or like the Barbie, because honestly, she's an attractive woman. Who doesn't love a little, She's
also, I mean, I think realistic proportion wise, like 7'1" or something like that. or if you were to like judge by the proportionality, she'd have to be something like 7'1", 7'2".
I think she'd have to be 7'1" and like only about 215 pounds, which for that height is impossibly unhealthy.
Yeah.
And like 15 of those pounds is
she got legs.
Way too much legs. Poor thing. Poor thing. Those ankles would probably, if you look at them wrong, they snap.
Yeah, there's definitely some tendon issues there. So we should talk about. I titled this episode "The Green Party is a Joke," but I want to get to that a little later. For a little bit of serious news, there is an article that just came out regarding Nebraska, basically setting their the Attorney General's office issued an advisory opinion after the overwhelmingly Republican-led legislature. They have a unicameral legislature in Nebraska.
That's one of the few things I remember about Nebraska.
And so it's not like there was some sort of big back and forth and, wow, what did the legislator really mean? No, the unicameral Republican-led legislature created a law that re-enfranchises convicted felons who have finished their sentences. But on top of basically issuing an advisory opinion that basically says, nah, the law is invalid, they also overturned a law that had been on the books for almost 20 years, which allowed for the reenfranchisement of a broader section of formerly incarcerated individuals who, in the meantime, had been voting for over a decade. So now there are thousands of people in Nebraska who have lost their right to vote who had previously had it, along with the people who are not going to get it back after the legislature intended for them to get it back. And I'm telling you, this is a Republican-led legislature in a deep red state.
I expect nothing less because honestly, I think we've all established the idea that the only way Republicans are winning is by cheating.
Yeah.
And they're getting very obvious about it. The fact that Georgia's shenanigans, everybody knows they're doing it.
the DNC finally sued them. I don't know what took them so freaking long, but I guess they finally sued them over it.
I think they were waiting for the fact that Brian Kemp. I mean, Brian Kemp is not known for being, is not known for playing fair in these sort of things, but he did reach out to his state attorney general asking, do I have the purview to get rid of these people?
Yeah, the fact that the Republican governor does not want to be seen with, because he is one of those Republicans, and I hesitate to give him credit. I don't think he's a good man, but I think he's the kind of Republican who is very strongly identified with his state and pride in his state and not wanting his state to look like a laughingstock. I know that he wants Trump to win, but
he is a creature that we all thought was extinct. He's a regionalist. He is a regionalist. He is a firm believer in and we haven't seen regionalists since what? The Civil War?
There's probably not since George Wallace. I assume, there's still, I think there was still plenty of regionalists up until about the Southern Strategy.
Yeah. So, we haven't really seen regionalists, but I do think that one could make the argument that Brian Kemp's a regionalist. He's not here for anything that'll make the Peach State look bad. And
he still wants to disenfranchise as many black voters as he can.
As possible, but he doesn't want
to do it with Georgia looking like a banana republic.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be obvious. He doesn't want, in other words, he wants to be able to do all the racist bullshit that people got away with 100 and change years ago, but he doesn't want to be obvious.
Yeah. He's purging the voter rolls in a way that is pretty much in line with the rest of the Republican Party. So he's fine doing the standard issue Republican fuckery, but don't you dare get into this new level of Trumpian fuckery.
Yeah. In other words, he wants his racist uniparty to be accomplished by honest means.
Arizona is also trying in a similar way to game the vote certification process.
And I know for them it's going to be a lot harder since they have a Democratic governor and I believe a Democratic Secretary of State. So then whatever they pull is probably going to be very sloppy, very underhanded, and probably won't work.
My issue is, the nightmare scenario comes down to what happens if we're looking at a 270 to 268 scenario, and the issue comes down to Nebraska's Lincoln district, and what if they refuse to certify that as a Democratic win? The 269 gets kicked to the legislature, which, as the House is majority Republican, kicks it to Donald Trump win. That's the kind of fuckery I'm terrified of.
That is what I am. That's in my heart of heart what I'm terrified of. Because most people don't understand the concept of you need to vote blue down the ballot.
Yeah.
This is going to be the point where you're going to be like, what do you really want? Do they and I'm beginning to start, I want to start asking Republicans, do these people really deserve your life raft? Do they? Their advanced people hate them, and their advanced people speak to them every goddamn day. If their advanced people keep putting them in these shitty ass situations, then they're basically gaming it. They're basically gaming it and telling you how horrible these people are. The fact that J.D. Vance cannot keep childless women out of his goddamn mouth. This time it was childless teachers. Childless teachers.
I think what's funny to me is that Vance could have coasted on a lengthy Senate career
Mm-hmm.
probably for another decade and a half,
Mm-hmm.
and then moved on to just, go back to the private sector after that Senate career, make even more money, and just
He could have
go
just
from
been
there.
a greedy capitalist and left us all the fuck alone.
But he was brought into the spotlight, and now everyone knows what a weird little fucker he is.
Yeah, at this point, I just want to see what's on this man's. I feel like almost every bearded Republican that looks like it might have been a badly mimeographed version of Matt Walsh. I feel like I want to look at every single. I want to look at every single piece of electronics with downloadable and shareable files. I want to speak to every single CPS person in every single state in every single county they lived. I want to darken the door of every swingers club, BDSM joint and dungeon. I want to and speak to every sex worker for every city they've even so much as set foot and had a 2-hour layover in. Because there is something disgusting and nasty that is curling at the base of this party and at the base of the church that is and the base of Christian nationalism that has decided to throw itself like a fucking $2 lot lizard after this party, that has a problem with women when they assert not just their God-given right to control their own fate, but their constitutional assurance to live their own lives. Is it I feel it's like a lot of these guys are finally finding out that women are making the choice to live their lives without them, because
I mean, it's why
they've been coasting for so long on just being white Christian and with a penis, that they don't know how to have a personality. And now that women are realizing, I don't necessarily need you.
It's why the more mainstream and less fringe figures feel safer talking about how they want to get rid of no fault divorce, because that used to be something that they knew not to say out loud.
Ever.
But it's become acceptable again, to the point where I believe it was the Texas Republican Party which put it in their platform that they want to get rid of no fault divorce. So it's these people are sick of a world where they are not just masters of their own domain, but masters of everything.
And it's just this deep misunderstanding of faith, this deep misunderstanding of how other human beings work, that it's now a point where they will either be taught a lesson by the one group of people that they never took seriously and never expected would.
As an aside, I mean, they've really ruined Christianity in a way that, granted, Christianity has been responsible for many atrocities over the years. But I mean,
this
like the
took
modern
it to a whole new
Christianity.
level. Yeah. This took it to a whole new level. There are now people who proudly affiliate themselves with the church who are now openly saying slavery was not just not bad, but the abolitionists were the worst possible thing to happen to America.
Which is hilarious, because the abolitionists were a lot of evangelicals were abolitionists. I mean, abolitionism was very much an evangelical.
It was, but a lot of them do want to act. But a lot of them do want to not have that conversation, because then that's going to force them to realize that maybe this whole thing is just your own issues with power and sin coming to light.
It's it's sort of a psychotic thing. This is the party that for years after 9/11, would constantly be on the radio. Where are the moderate Muslim leaders coming out and denouncing? Like, I don't know. I realize we're apples and oranges, but to a certain extent, where are the Christian leaders?
Yeah, where are your Russell Moores? You've got your Russell Moores, you've got your Beth Moores. They will talk around them. They will assume that by their reasonableness, we will know them. But honestly, as we have watched
get out
the
there and say this is bullshit.
Yeah, as we have watched the Democratic Party realize, hey, these fuckers are weird. And we should start talking about how they're weird and talking about how wrong and evil they are. We should. I think it's time for them to start doing that.
On a personal level, this has led me to I have not renounced Christ, but I have renounced Christianity, the organization. I am not Christian. I believe in God. I believe, and it has brought me more stability and strength in my belief in God to finally say I am no longer a Christian. I do not believe
it's more a matter of there's a reason I hold the label of uninstitutionalized Christian, because the institutions no longer, both the actual church and the parachurch organizations no longer are serving people. They are serving power. It's the fact that after the Club Q shooting, the fact that Focus on the Family was just up the street, and I have a feeling they released a statement that was horrible, and I wouldn't be shocked if it was.
I mean, if they did, it's the same way that the NRA took how many days to release a statement about Philando Castile and a license.
And it wasn't even officially, and it wasn't even an official statement. Remember that. They sent out Colion, they just said, oh, whatever Colion Noir said. That is literally what they did. That is literally what they did. That was the incident that kind of broke me. That was literally what they did. They just sent out Colion Noir and said, yeah, whatever he said. And just kept it pushing. And I'm just like, how? Tell me how. Tell me.
So, yeah. I would consider converting to, other Abrahamic religions, but they all, now that I've
converting to the others is exhausting.
They all have rules about what food you cannot eat and when, and I am not about that. I'm going to eat meat on Friday. I'm going to eat pork. I'm going to eat beef.
You're going to eat shellfish.
I am not going to be told what foods I can't eat and on what days. This is not.
For me, it's also the fact of I don't know if I have the energy to learn an entire other language.
Yeah. So my grandparents were Catholic, and my parents were raised Catholic, which is why I was not raised Catholic. But they told me about, other family used to, not eat meat on Fridays, and I'm like, what are you kidding me? I'm eating meat on Friday. This is not.
I luckily did not get involved in that part of the faith tradition. It was the fact that the no dancing thing.
Here's the thing, though. I think that it's fine if you were born into Catholicism and Christianity if you don't want to follow the precepts. But I think that if you join a religion as an adult, they might expect you to follow those rules a lot more than if you were just born into it. It's like, all right, you were born into it. For me, it's
more, and also I'm going to be honest, from the outside, adult Catholic converts who are way too fucking enthusiastic make me nervous. Adult Catholic converts, like, bruh, you knew what you were getting into. So now you're going to be a Catholic edgelord on social media. Like,
adult
do you
Catholic
even know what that means?
Adult Catholic converts have way too much of an opinion of the actual Pope's alleged infallibility, way more than actual born Catholics do.
Yeah, that is something that, like, it's like you decided to become a Catholic, but you hate Pope Francis. What are we doing? What are we doing, dude, with a Thomas A. Kempis avatar? Did you even read Imitation of Christ? I read Imitation of Christ. You're not imitating him. Because I don't know what you're doing, but it ain't that.
That's one of the reasons, again, why I don't think I'll be converting. Maybe now, maybe I'll change my mind, converting to a different, I feel like I have to stay in the Abrahamic family. I don't know. It's just, that's kind of the God I believe in. So it's like, I feel like honest, I have to believe in follow a religion of a version of that God.
There are certain things, I will say this. Up until a couple years ago, I would have been like, well, if I were not a Christian, I would do some syncretic, I would do some sort of syncretic paganism. Would I go to the religion of my foremothers and embrace Obia or any of the other island syncretics? Possibly. But knowing me, I'd be an idiot and like try to syncretic with Norse paganism because I know way too many people, and then I'd get myself killed because some jackass from the foothills of Minnesota that actually has never really lived in anywhere Norse, but thinks he's Norse because he's white, would probably kill me because I actually bothered to learn runes.
I mean, I couldn't convert to Islam because there's no way my ADHD ass is going to remember when to pray every single day.
They got apps for that.
Do you really think that I'm going to even remember
they got apps for that?
I have 15 alarms on my phone.
They got apps for that, man. They got apps for that, and they got apps to help you geolocate in which direction to bow. So they got apps for that. What? You don't think there's an ADHD? You don't think there's like at least 15,000 ADHD Muslims on Twitter who have an accountability circle?
I woke up at 2 a.m. to go to the bathroom and then remembered I never turned on any of my 15 alarms. Do you think an app is going to really help me?
But I think somebody texting you from the Philadelphia Mosque might. They would do it. Listen, they would absolutely do it.
Like I'm in AA. like I need a sponsor. Did you remember to pray today? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pray that I remember to pray the next time.
But I will say, they're big on cats.
I'm allergic.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. I mean, honestly, like I said, the Islamic culture's love for cats is a selling point. I see it as a selling point.
I just want a
cat. It's a selling point, honestly.
I just want a cat so I can name it Chairman Meow. Like it's the same reason I want a Rottweiler so I can name it Roddy Piper.
Meanwhile, I'm over here. I have a black cat that had the temerity to be female, so I had to think in French and throw the feminizing NE on Damien and make it Damien.
I do like that.
Well, no, I fucking love her. She doesn't give a fuck, and she will climb on things, and she is amazing, and she is semi-feral. And I already
revive the Church of Sean Bean.
That Sean Bean died for our cinematic sins.
Yes, he dies in every movie for your sins.
I swear,
this was a joke. This was This was a thing like before Game of Thrones, by the way.
Yeah,
Like
this
it was
was in.
already a trope that he died at
I
everything.
think this goes back to the early days of the internet.
This was
This is. I believe that
it
is
was
the
the early
deep
days of
magic.
Facebook. It was like sometime between 2006, 2008 or so.
Okay,
But-
so it's not the deep magic of the internet.
No, but it was definitely something that after watching The Island, and it was just like, well, he's Sean Bean, so he's gonna die. I mean, it isn't enough that he plays the villain. I know he's not going to get arrested. He's gonna die. So that was just because I mean, like, you know, everything I'd ever seen him in. Fucking what was the Jack Ryan movie?
Patriot Games,
and GoldenEye and The Island, and it just everything. He just always died. So just like he's the biggest walking spoiler in the history of cinema.
That poor man. Yeah, it's like you see Sean Bean, you're like, and I'm just gonna wait around for him to die.
Yeah. Surprisingly, when I saw Silent Hill and he lived, I was like, what? They did that on purpose.
Well, yeah, you gotta break it up somehow, because then they appreciate you dying more.
Yeah.
Like I'm just waiting. It's like I want to see something like The Many Deaths of Sean Bean and see how many and see how different directors are like, yes, I cast Sean Bean in my movie. Yes, I cast him knowing I was going to kill him. But did I want to kill him in a way that everyone else had? Did I want to be inventive?
There was that one movie where he was quartered. That was intense.
Which one would that?
I can't even remember.
It's like and I'm like, he's been in a lot of things. Like I can't I'm like I can visualize him being quartered, but I can't I'm like I understand the concept, but when did that happen?
Well, I think it'll be time to move on to the main subject that I think I wanted to address this episode, and that is
what brought on your particular ire against the Green Party?
It was the Green Party gubernatorial candidate in Maryland, I think Adam something or other, clapping back at something that George Takei said about the fuck is her name? I can't even remember her name right now.
Jill Stein.
Jill Stein.
Everyone's favorite electoral cicada.
Yeah, electoral cicada. That's right. He basically said she shows up every 4 years and doesn't do anything in between. And the candidate, Adam something, I think, again, said that's not true. She shows up for other candidates. She does this, does that.
What other candidates, motherfucker?
The Green Party has been around for 40 years.
Yes, they have. We are tired.
The biggest showing since they managed to get 2% in the 2000 election, the one where the Brooks Brothers riot and Ralph Nader affected Florida.
I apologize once again to everybody.
Well, what I will say is that was 2% of the vote, or above 2% of the vote for the Green Party. That was their best showing. Since then, the best they have done is 1.1%. In the meantime, there are, except for Cynthia McKinney, who converted to the Green Party from the Democratic Party, there have been no federal level Green Party office holders, no statewide government officers, only local Green Party candidates.
And the fact they have not built on that. That's the part that gets me. They've gotten something that a lot of third parties don't get, which is at least somewhere to start.
Yeah.
We constantly tell third party people all the goddamn time, go start local first. Start local first. The only way you devour an elephant and a donkey is one bite at a time. Start local first. And the Green Party actually did it, and they never really.
There's no effort. There is absolutely no effort. And I know people want to say, there are candidates out there, but thing is there's no strategy. There is
No,
no
it really
nationwide
isn't.
strategy to say, all right, here's this district in Philadelphia where the Republicans only ever get 20% or to 30% of the vote in that district. That is where a Green Party candidate can possibly win with a plurality of the vote. Let's
Hmm.
get a congressional candidate to get one Green Party candidate in a federal office. Meanwhile, let's find some statewide state legislature seats to get them in. Let's put them in something. You maybe have some mayors and some town officials across the country. There are less than 200 official Green Party members who hold any office in the country. None of them at the statewide level. None of them at the federal level. And the last one that I know of, and I could be wrong, the last one I know of that held federal office was Cynthia McKinney, who I don't know if she was in office when she converted to the Green Party or
I
not.
believe she was. I believe she was. You know
But
what? Let
either
me
way, she
just,
was elected as
let's,
a Democrat. So there's an incumbency there. If she won an election as a Green after converting, that's great, but she was an incumbent.
yeah,
And,
she was an, I believe she was an incumbent and then converted to Green Party. Let me find out.
yeah. The question is, did she run for re-election and win? I don't think it matters, though, because the point is that the Green Party has no ground game. Their fundraising is all tied up
Trash.
in Jill Stein. Their fundraising is tied up in the one race they can't win. And I know there's the saying, well, if you
Yeah.
vote for her, she will win.
You,
That
you
goes against everything we know about human psychology because humans just simply will not do that. It's out of sight, out of mind. If the Green Party doesn't have a national presence elsewhere, unless it is an independently wealthy billionaire a la Ross Perot, we're not going to have a third party who has a snowball's chance in hell at getting anywhere near winning a state, let alone the 270 needed. We
and it's
have
the
to
fact
be,
that and it's the fact that it go I guess the Green Party, whether they want to admit it or not, they're emblematic as to why a third party has such a hard time getting off the ground, because the ones that get the closest end up becoming like cicadas, ruining it for other parties rather than actually building an identity of their own.
now, and here's the thing, I don't think that every single person who votes Green, if were there no Green, would suddenly vote Democrat.
No.
I think most of those votes are votes that would not vote Democrat no matter what. Maybe a few will siphon off and vote Democrat if she backed out. But for the most part, like, granted, I was bitter after 2016 and I blamed Jill Stein voters. I shouldn't have. It's not.
Were there enough to blame though?
I mean, mathematically speaking, if every single Jill Stein voter voted Democrat, she would have won the election because that was enough to cover the difference between her and Trump in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. So if every Jill Stein voted for, but you know,
That's not what
people
happened.
voting Green are not Democrats. And I think the issue is I want a viable left-wing third party that can form a coalition congressionally.
And of course you know that you're asking for a lot here.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's why you focus on these statewide offices and get to a point where 6, 8 years down the line, you say, wow, like there's like 3 seats in the Pennsylvania State House that are Green. There are 4 seats in California that are Green. There's even a Green in Washington State. You know.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but like to me, it's just the sake of you get state houses with some Greens. You even get a single Green in the House of Representatives. That's how you start getting more fundraising. That's how you start getting money. That's how a third party becomes the second party. Because when it comes to national level politics, for the big office, a third party will not win unless it is like you had Ross Perot, who was his messaging was it was reform, but it was still center. It was populist. It was equally appealing to the right and the left. And I don't mean the left as in left wing, but I mean left of center, right of center. It was equally appealing to a lot of centrists and moderates. he mismanaged his campaign in 1992 and dropped out for far too long and then came back way too late and ended up only getting 17%. But the fact is, with enough funding, a party that was a third party could become a contender with a populist message. The thing is, the Green Party can be populist.
Yeah.
Even when it's being left wing, because a lot of the idea. Look, I don't want to get into specific. People aren't going to, by and large, at the presidential level, vote for a Democratic Socialist unless
No,
they're
not.
Bernie Sanders running as a Democrat and messaging as a populist platform, which he did.
Yeah, we've allowed other people's opinions of democratic socialism to become our own.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent too. I think Bernie's really a social democrat, not a democratic socialist, but it's a branding thing. He is kind of making socialism safe for the moderates.
In other words, it's socialism. It's socialism for Americans with now 25% less socialism.
It's capitalism with a robust social safety net. So it's what I believe in. I am a capitalist, and there's a point, to me saying, that as a lapsed conservative Republican, I realize that people who are left wing, like true capital L left wing, are not going to trust me as an ally because they think that I will further the interest of capitalism before they'll think I'll be an Emmanuel Macron, basically.
Yeah, I've been watching that. I've been watching that little development happen, and that's got to throw a lot of people off, but not necessarily. He
should be impeached.
Man's got embarrassed during the Olympics, and he doesn't want to go, and he thinks that doing this will prevent it from happening again.
He is going to, if he somehow strikes a deal with Marine Le Pen,
which I do think he would do.
I don't think. Look, French leaders who have betrayed the public trust have history.
Yeah, usually they don't. It does not end well, but I have a feeling like he's going to probably fall into a trap a lot of his predecessors have, and he thinks it will not happen to him. I don't know why he thinks that, but he thinks it ain't gonna happen to him. I don't know who lied to him.
I mean, Hitler's going after the communists and the Jews, but surely he won't go after, the disabled. It's that mentality. It's like, yeah, but like I may be disabled, but I'm white and Christian, so they won't come after me. Like, you're on the menu, motherfucker.
Oh, baby, no.
Like,
yeah, probably I will not be shocked if I do love the fact that I forgot her name. If Candace Owens, Farmer, thinks that, if that woman thinks that Trump is not going to come after me, I am married to a white man who is who is descended from somebody who's descended from English nobility. I'm of Caribbean heritage, therefore he's not going to touch me.
This is what pisses me off so much about like the sort of like the trouble of being an anti-Zionist is the fact that by virtue of the fact that Zionism is a political movement about Judaism, anti-Semites love it. So the fact is that a movement of anti-Zionism has to police itself and say
constantly,
actually anti-Semites cannot be a part of this. And the fact is there are people who allied themselves with Candace Owens because she was, presumably
she said a lot of shit that anti-Semites liked. Like, it's like how people who support Ron DeSantis get mad when you call him racist. I'm like, well, if he keeps doing shit racist, what am I left to think?
Yeah. But it's one of those things where if there are anti-Zionists who don't consider themselves anti-Semites, but nevertheless help Candace Owens get a platform, 80, you are an anti-Semite.
Yeah.
Like, Candace Owens is a virulent anti-Semite and always has been. And if you're taking the thing, if her messaging on the state of Israel somehow slivers and aligns with yours, and you think, well, I'm not an anti-Semite.
It's
You're
like you
giving her
gotta
a
be like,
platform. You are.
I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, baby. You an anti-Semite. I'm gonna wash my hands off after this, so I don't get any on me.
Well, it's like I think there was Norman Finkelstein did like a sit down, like an interview or a panel with, and Norman Finkelstein is just uh, he is useful in being a debate lord against, like, idiots, but at the same time he's a racist crank. So it's just sort of like, when it comes to documentary evidence, he is good at remembering key facts and dates and times in the history of Israel-Palestine conflict. But outside of that, the shit he says is fucked up. And him and Candace Owens together is just like, you're doing no favors to a movement that wants to be liberatory to Palestinian people, and
all you're doing is you're giving people who are willing to overlook the Israeli state's tendency toward collective over punishment, especially of Palestinians. All you're doing is just giving them, cover to do that, to continue.
Yeah. So it's just Candace Owens becoming more and more of an open anti-Semite is just sort of one of those, like, I shouldn't have to say told you, because it should have been obvious, but fucking told you.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm not shocked by it. I just didn't really think it was going to, before October 7th last year, I did not think it was going to come up.
Well, what I will say is, before now, I wasn't sure if she was legitimately stupid or a grifter. Now I know she is a stupid true believer, and she wasn't just doing it to make money. She really believes the stupid shit.
Well, she has no choice but to. The cognitive dissonance would kind of be a little bit too much for her.
I mean, the entire Daily Wire project is funded by oil billionaires to get useful idiots who are like either non-white or are white minorities, like Catholics, and or Jewish people or Black people, and I think they is Dave Rubin part of the Daily Wire? Or is he one of the? Is he the Glenn Beck kind of?
I think there was a minute where he and Daily Wire were in bed, but I don't think he takes their calls. They don't kiki no more.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure if LGBTQ was part of that. The use of minority and marginalized people.
I mean, there was a moment where a lot of them may not necessarily be officially under the Daily Wire banner, but will be in the same room with them. Blair White, I'm looking at you, bitch.
Well, it's the reason why people were so invested in Phyllis Schlafly being the messenger of anti-feminism. They want the legitimization of having non-white quasi-minority voices giving messages that are pretty close to explicitly white supremacists.
Yeah, like I look at the fact that that everyone was like, what are you going to do about Amber Rose? I'm like, listen, first of all, y'all need to understand there's a whole lot of intra-diaspora politics y'all don't understand. She is from Cape Verde. Many people from Cape Verde do not even consider themselves Black. And many of them have a problem with Black people, especially Black Americans.
I'm pretty sure.
For her to go from I don't trust Donald Trump to, I will actually speak at the convention nominating him, is not as far of a leap as you think it is. It's really not. The people really don't understand that in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, the GOP really did make inroads with non-white immigrants. They really did. We're still feeling the effects of that Miami.
It doesn't help that the Democrats very openly are sort of dismissive of and hostile to non-white and immigrant cultures. Basically say, listen, it's either us or them, and so you're going to have to take the second worst option, and we're going to do next to nothing for you. So that is like what is keeping so many, like, if the Democrats actually cared, they could have all of the Latino votes they wanted. They could have, they wouldn't be bleeding black male votes to Donald Trump, but they won't do anything for.
I will say that to a degree, some of it can be something that can be helped by the Democratic Party, but some of it, no, it can't. There is the thing with Donald Trump, especially for minority men, especially for black men, Latino men, they're just like how we are honest about the thread of misogyny that runs through the larger American culture. There are threads of misogyny that run through this culture. There is the machismo, the thug culture, whatever. And part of that is aspirational misogyny. Aspirational misogyny, the concept that you see a man like Donald Trump and you wish you could treat women like that and get away with it.
The popularity of Andrew Tate astounds, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah, aspirational misogyny. It's the fact that they see, for black men seeing black women, despite being constantly trod down, constantly shit upon, that they gather themselves up every day and go to work, go to school, go and do what needs to be done. They get educated. And when it comes time, they come home and they're like, wait, you've been doing nothing all day while I worked? What the fuck? And many of them are making the choice. Many of them are choosing to stay single because honestly, in this, heterosexuality, coupledom, monogamy in this economy, like people, like one of many polls that often get attention because it's election season, people are noticing that there's a gender gap.
You need to have a polycule in order to afford a house.
Yeah, you do need to have a polycule in order to afford a house. You do need, for many straight women, I will not be shocked if it comes down to a polycule of two straight women, one straight man, one queer man, a bunch of queer women, and a trans person, and they're all dating in this cube, in this circle, because have you met other men? They're trash. Don't be shocked if for many liberal men that don't really want to get married, they may end up being a walking husband, going between multiple women who are highly aware of the situation.
I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry was supposed to be kind of a larf, but
no, women are now looking and thinking, what if we decided to go in together, get a house, and we're all dating the same dude because we don't trust these other dudes and he doesn't live here. Like, that is something that could happen, and that's what's making dudes like JD Vance. It's what's making dudes like Joel Webben. It's what's making dudes nervous. The fact that women will choose this willingly over their asses.
And it's part of the reason, to go backwards a little bit, why they are so keen on getting rid of no fault divorce, because they want women trapped. They
And
want to go back to a time where women can't be fed up anymore, because
yeah,
there is no fed up. You're there.
you're stuck. You're stuck like Chuck, boo boo. And that's why you got organizations that we have the right to feel ambivalent about, Lincoln Project, putting out ads showing genteel white dads attempting to take their daughters with the daughter's knowledge and consent. They've got genteel white dads trying to take their daughters over state lines and getting arrested by some Handmaid's Tale looking cop.
If the Lincoln Project want to be useful idiots for the cause, I'm happy. But
Yeah,
that's
I
as
mean, I
far as I
don't
can
trust
go.
them. I don't
Like,
trust them, but I do appreciate when they make these ads like this. And even though the main faces of people who have actually been arrested and adjudicated for discharging a pregnancy against the will of the state, even though the ones that have actually been caught have been indigenous and black, I do appreciate them showing white people, because it's been scientifically shown that white people only care about an issue when it looks like them.
it's the reason why everyone immediately, when we started talking about Biden needs to step down and said Kamala needs to take over, it was a given that the vice president was going to
Going
be
to be
a
a
white man.
white man.
There was never a discussion or a thought otherwise, except a couple people who said Gretchen Whitmer.
And Gretchen herself, and Big Gretch was like, baby, I want no parts of that. Zero parts of that. Big Gretch wanted no parts of that. Big Gretch is like, I will gladly be on the sidelines cheerleading.
I mean, it's, it can be her time at some point.
Yeah, I would love for it to be her time, but it's not her time now. And I love the fact that she's on the sideline with a clipboard and some extra towels.
I can appreciate that AOC wanted to have her her Obama 2004 moment, at
It wasn't
the
too bad.
DNC. But
It wasn't too bad.
I will say, like, honey, your turn is going to be in the 2040s if it happens.
Yeah. Get comfortable. Pull up. Don't burn out now. Don't immediately. But we're glad you're here. Don't get us wrong. We're glad you're here.
I will be eligible to collect Social Security if she becomes president, when she becomes president. Or I should say, if she ever becomes president, when it happens in that scenario, I will be eligible to collect Social Security. Of course, I won't do it because I'm going to wait till I'm 67, because then you
get. Will there be any Social Security?
I honestly believe that it is something that will get fixed, because of how seniors as a voting bloc will make sure that ship gets righted.
Yeah, that's one thing I will. I think is the factor that has caused the flip for Kamala Harris in places like the Villages. They're like, well, am I going to vote for the person who will at least put an effort into preserving Social Security, or the motherfucker who wants to get rid of it entirely?
It's ironic too, because, like, even though in his budgets, Trump has repeatedly tried to alter Medicare. He's been publicly saying, unlike Republicans for a while, do not touch Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Do not. Now, that goes against his actions, but the thing is, before that, it was a big Paul Ryan Republican thing to say we need to privatize
Social Security. That went away real quick. It was like almost as soon as Paul Ryan left, that idea left, which I think is hilarious.
You remember him, like, he had his playlist in one of his Rage Against the Machine.
Oh yeah, and I was like Rage Against the Machine, and even then, in our days, I was just like,
that ain't
you
for
do
us.
know that. Yeah, I was like, baby, that's not even for us. You're not supposed to like that.
I'm much more amenable to it now. But,
I mean, now all of us have kind of changed to a degree to where no. I will never forget there was a radio station in Canada that I think in protest just kept playing it for like either 80 something or 50 something days straight. And I'm like, y'all just gonna play Killing in the Name of, you know what? And I think there were at least 3 different police actions that made me go, and cue Killing in the Name of. Like right now, I'm just thinking about the fact that I actually think I told you when people were talking about, oh, we should stop giving money to Ukraine. I'm like, first of all, we're not giving money to Ukraine. We're kind of cleaning out our closets. And honestly, I'd rather see our equipment rolling down the streets of Kyiv Oblast than being driven by some jerk ass cop with like 5 disciplinary infractions and a hair
on his 3rd divorce in child support arrears, but the courts won't do anything about it because he's a cop. You definitely want that guy rolling down the street with a tank.
No, I don't. I want some dude named Ivan. I want some dude named Ivan who is like who is in a rock band and working in a bar in Zaporizhzhia before doing this. Okay, that's who I want behind a tank because he's going to be in Ukraine and I'm going to be here.
I'll say it before and I'll say it again to the people on the left who says, supporting Ukraine is supporting Nazis. I'm like, you have one division that has like neo-Nazis in it. I got bad news for you about our military. If we're ever under attack, and we tell them, oh, you're just, they'll be saying, oh, you're giving money to Nazis if you're giving aid to the U.S. So I'm like, yeah, every military has extremist right-wingers and like in it. The issue with Ukraine, and I'll say it again and again and again, is we said we'd have their back if they denuclearized, and they denuclearized. That's the kind of word we should be keeping. And I will gladly say that we should, like, yes, we don't want to be encouraging a forever war, but this is a matter of principle that countries should be able to, if we say we're going to do something think that we are serious about it. Yeah, so yes, like, we should continue to help fund Ukraine.
Yeah, and like I said, it keeps going back to the fact that I'd rather see some armor-clad vehicle rolling down the street in Kyiv than I would in Kansas City.
Cops aren't people.
Cops aren't workers.
Yeah,
sex workers.
I'm obviously exaggerating, but it's
I'm not exaggerating that much. Cops aren't workers, but the call center girlies, the escorts, the nail girlies, hell, the engineers, those are workers. Cops are not.
Well, when people are derogatory towards sex workers, whether it's actual, people who are prostitutes or whether it's people who, make videos for OnlyFans, I just want to say, like, when people use words like, the W word, in that respect, I'd say, like, every single one of us gives our body to our employer for pennies on the dollar to make money for someone else, and we are destroying our body by the minute to do it.
Exactly.
Every one of us. The fact,
the difference is that the sex worker at least can has a little bit more negotiating power and can potentially get some orgasms out of it if she plays her cards right.
That says OnlyFans takes way too much money from its
that part. Louder.
We need to, as I've always said, legalize it, regulate it, and tax it, and make sure everybody is safe.
That part.
And with that, I think we will end the show. But this just in, David Zaslav somehow still alive again. Unbelievable.
I swear,
he's ruining it. He's ruining it.
I think honestly, if we give Tim Walz a rifle